Yo, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 things that just don't hit the same anymore. Also, let me know in the comments about some other things that just do not hit the same anymore like it used to. But anyways guys, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about that doesn't hit the same anymore is Angry Birds. Man, I remember playing most of the Angry Birds games when I was a child on the family iPad. I remember coming home from school and getting excited to play the latest Angry Birds games that were coming out. I was playing the first Angry Birds game, Angry Birds Go, Angry Birds Rio, Angry Birds Star Wars, Angry Birds Seasons, Angry Birds Space, and Angry Birds Epic. Like, those were the days. Angry Birds was a part of my childhood, and I will never forget how much fun I had playing the games and watching the movies and TV shows. But when you look at the Angry Birds franchise now, it's a totally different story. I don't understand why Rovio would remove all their older Angry Birds games that made them popular in the first place. So yeah, all these new match-3 games from Rovio just don't feel like Angry Birds at all. The only game that feels like Angry Birds nowadays is Angry Birds 2, and even that game doesn't hit the same anymore compared to some of their older games. It's sad to see the Angry Birds franchise fall off, knowing that the good old days of Angry Birds is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But anyways, the next thing that doesn't hit the same anymore is the city of London. Now, the last time I visited London was 11 years ago, back in 2014. I decided to watch some videos of travelers walking around in London in 2024/2025, and I gotta say that things have definitely changed. Like, if you visit London now, there's a lot more tents on the streets filled with homeless people. There are heaps of garbage in some neighborhoods and districts, and some areas in London like Croydon and Peckham are no-go zones now. Also, did you know that there are more non-white migrants living in London than native British people? Like, if you walk on the streets of London, you are gonna see many different demographics of people, like Muslim women in hijabs or burqas. Don't get me wrong though, even when I visited the city in 2014, it still had these things, but compared to now, it seems like it was amplified by 10. It's crazy to think that 3 decades ago, London was nothing like this. It was a British city made up of British people. Now there's garbage, tents, and vape shops on almost every block. The next thing I want to talk about that just doesn't hit the same anymore is the MCU. After Endgame, the franchise just doesn't feel the same anymore. To be honest, the only post-Endgame movies worth watching are Guardians 3, No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine, and maybe even the upcoming Fantastic Four film. Like, most movies and TV shows that came out post-Endgame are either mid or painfully bad. And speaking of bad, I heard that the new Captain America movie that came out recently doesn't seem to be doing so well in terms of reviews. The Infinity Saga was the good old days of the MCU. I genuinely don't know how the multiverse saga is going to play out, but what I do know is that it's not going to be as good as the Infinity Saga. I think we can all agree that the MCU peaked when Infinity War came out. Like, watching Infinity War and Endgame in theaters is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Watching MCU movies pre-Endgame just doesn't hit the same anymore compared to now. All I'm saying is that the MCU feels different compared to what it was during the Infinity Saga. Moving on, the next thing that doesn't hit the same anymore is Fortnite. I think we can all agree that Fortnite is a vastly different game now compared to what it was in 2018. Like, OG Fortnite in Chapter 1 Season 3 was peak. Also, people were genuinely excited when Fortnite had its first few crossovers like the Travis Scott concert, or when the Infinity Gauntlet mode in Chapter 1 Season 4 got introduced. Nowadays, whenever Fortnite announces another crossover, people are like, meh.
whatever.
Not to mention that the experience was very different compared to what it is now. Like when you were in the top 10 then, you were genuinely shaking in your boots. And when it was a 1v1, your heart was racing. You were feeling intense. And when you finally got your first solo win, you celebrated in a joyful manner. Now, compare that to getting a victory royale now. Your reaction is probably like, oh wow, another win, whatever. But what surprises me the most is that even to this day, the game is still somewhat relevant. All I'm saying is that OG Fortnite was a nostalgic experience and it was even some people's childhood. But overall, Fortnite feels like an entirely different game now compared to the OG days. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about that doesn't hit the same anymore is Cartoon Network. Now, to be honest, I'm gonna keep this one quite short. Man, I remember watching shows like The Amazing World of Gumball, Regular Show, and Ninjago. Those three shows were genuinely my favorite shows on Cartoon Network. Like, these shows were my childhood. The new Cartoon Network shows are just not it for me. Also, it's sad to see that Cartoon Network is just straight up dead nowadays, meaning it's completely irrelevant now. All I'm saying is that I just miss the good old days of Cartoon Network. You know, I miss the old Cartoon Network. But anyways guys, that is all I have for you today in this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe with post notifications on, and comment something positive or even comment your own video ideas. But anyways guys, see you all in the next one.